This is an umbrella. When it's raining, I want to give it to my brother Subboor here. I want to just give it to him, right? Use it, right? Oh, but before that, what if there were infinite number of people in front of me? Can I give this umbrella by passing an infinite number of people and then he has it?
I would say no. You can't give it to him.
You can't?
Yes.
Okay. So the action of the umbrella reaching to your hand, if that happened, would that demonstrate that there was infinite number of people or there was a finite number?
That would demonstrate there's a finite.
Finite.
Yeah.
You and I now exist.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. You and I exist.
Yeah.
If we had infinite number of causes just going by without an end,
Yeah.
you and I would not exist. This action would not exist. The causes eventually has to end somewhere. That end of that something is called the first cause. There's something maybe against our intuitions, but it's a logical necessity. Sometimes once you show logically this is it, that's what it is. Yeah? We're not simply saying that we accept it by blind faith, but this is a consequence of our paradigm that we accept, because we haven't made any axiomatic assumptions or presuppositions which are not reasonable. We are saying something, this is the definition, nothing, this is the definition. With this definition in mind, there has to be always something that follows within the paradigm. And there's nothing unreasonable about it. The question now is, how is it that always something exists? It could be mind-boggling, but the reality is there has to be, otherwise it cannot explain this something. So we say that something that always exists does have to have some necessary qualities. It has to have at least fundamentally three, if I were to reduce to these 3 or 4 qualities or attributes. Otherwise, this something will never arise here at this point. It will never be. One of those things is that something has to have self-awareness. And I will explain each one in turn.
Yeah.
It also has to have a will or a volition, an intent. And it has to have an ability. So let me give you a scenario example to illustrate what I mean by that. Say I want to, prepare some dish in the restaurant, right? I'm working there in the restaurant. And the waiter comes with his or her piece of paper. This is the dish that you need to make, right? Puts it there, hangs it with like a magnetic thing. I say, I can see it. Okay, pizza, margarita, and this and that. Well, if I were dead at that point, that's one option. If I was fully unconscious, sedated, would I be able to make this pizza? Of course not. Now suppose I was alive and I am self-aware, but I do not want to, I do not intend to, because I don't have a will. I just don't possess the will to do anything.
Yeah.
I won't be able to make it. I have to intend to assemble all these ingredients together to make it. Now suppose I have self-awareness. I also have the will, but I don't have the ability. You know what? My friends tied me together. My hands, my legs, my mouth, my eyes, everything. So I can't even instruct a robot to make it for me. I don't have the ability. So even if I was conscious, self-aware, I intended to make that pizza, I still can't make it because I don't have the ability. So this example illustrates, to make a simple pizza, some of these qualities are necessary to make it manifest in reality. This is something that we now observe is actually a manifestation or a transformation of something that wasn't as it is. We are transforming into this state. We are continuously being transformed. Our universe wasn't exactly like this. Our universe has expanded. He will tell you from physics and astrophysics, this is the reality. These transformations cannot just happen by magic or from this something that exists without knowing that it exists, without intending to make that transformation, without having the ability to make it. It has to have these things. Self-aware, knows that it exists, knows that it wants to make this transformation, and intends to do it, and has the ability and does it.
Okay.
So that seems reasonable, right?
Yeah, it seems reasonable. I just.
I want to know what is not reasonable in this particular scenario.
Well, not necessarily that it's not reasonable, just that maybe I don't fully understand it. When you say something is a will to do it, would that
This is the argument you made about contingency earlier.
Yeah.
For example, this umbrella is grey, right?
Yes.
It wasn't necessary it was grey. It could have been blue, it could have been white, it could have been red. To make it into this particular color, it needs to be intended to do that. Otherwise, if it was all necessary, then it should be all colors. The fact that it's now selected color means it's already been selected and intended and willed to be in this form.
But say like, what's the difference between that and the grass?
Yeah,
then?
the grass could have been red, but it's not.
Yeah.
That means there's a selection of choice of what it could be. So it's not necessary that it was supposed to be green. Because chlorophyll could have been something to say it should be black, for example, or red.
Yeah.
So this differences that we see is an evidence to show some intentionality, something that willed it to make it different. This is another way of understanding the contingency argument. The argument of contingency for the existence of God is a very robust argument. Even atheists who are famous today, they are struggling with, and they accept that this is something that we should take into serious consideration. There's various arguments philosophers use, but this one, very popular and very robust. It's not robust. When I say robust, it's logically sound and valid. Yeah. So, if there is a transformation and there was no will, then why is everything in different ways? Because if it was just simply by accident, some people might say, look, it's just happened by accident without a will. Then why isn't it all the other colors, all the other forms and shape? Because it's just by accident. Why is it selected? Why are the whole universe, or whatever we can observe of our cosmos, in a way that it operates and it seems to be following a particular way? It seems like someone meaning something which is uniquely being one in absolute control. Otherwise, we can see this spin of the electron in a different way. The field is there, like the gravitational pulse today and not tomorrow. But it's not like this. There's a consistency in our physical laws in our universe.
Yeah.
So directing it to a particular way, not any other way, it's an evidence of intentionality and will for that way.
Yeah, I just don't see the link between consistency and intentionality. That's what I'm kind of saying.
Okay, so maybe you can explain that a bit further.
So no,
good. We're
Sorry,
not saying it's easy to grasp just like that. We can clarify what we mean.
Yeah.
sorry, I forgot your name already.
Robin.
Robin. So the contingency argument can be used to derive some attributes of God, including volition, will. But before that, just the idea of a necessary being. Do you agree with that?
What do you mean? Do I agree with it? Like,
Necessary existence. So what a necessary existence. So what Mansur was speaking about earlier is that all things are here limited. Going back, you can't have nothing. There must have been something that was one and absolute, which is why we're here today. What do you think?
It would be like magic. So
Pardon?
if that was not the case, then it would be like magic. I mean, something is popping up.
Something has to eventually be grounded on some explanation. This is called grounding. Everything, limited things and finite things which are dependent. For example, I am not independent and self-sufficient. If I stop breathing, I will die. If I don't eat food or eat drink, I would die. I'm dependent on so many things. So everything within this whole set of our reality is dependent. That whole set cannot be dependent depending on itself. It has to depend on something that is not dependent.
No, yeah, I get that. It's just
But intentionally point you are saying that what's the link between consistency and intentionality? So here you can say that think of your routine, daily routine. Yeah, so sometimes it may happen that a calf is falling from your hand and it's broken by accident. There's no intentionality of yours involved here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the point is that when you maintain a routine, daily routine, I woke up like this and do walk these walks. I mean, so this is consistently you're maintaining. So this is not accident. When you are maintaining a routine, or when you are paddling a cycle, suppose, then you are consistently maintaining speed and direction.
Yeah.
So here you can distinguish between the scenario of involvement of intention and pure unintentional unconscious accident, like dropping a cup, and you consistently, consciously, you are willing or choosing a particular way of routine or paddling a cycle or detecting it.
Yeah.
So here comes, if you remove the element of will and maintaining the capability to maintain the consistency, that's you require certain level of consciousness about the road and the cycle and the paddling, everything. So awareness and will, if you remove them from your capability, then everything will be accident, and there would be nothing to prevent further accident. Like this grass should turn into yellow right now. I mean, everything can be accident. So to prevent further accidents, you have to maintain consistently that no other accident happens. So that's why you need will and volition to maintain something.
Yeah. Let's make it a bit more easier. He spoke earlier about order. Do you agree that the world is really well organized and ordered? It's a level of design.
Yeah, in some aspects, definitely. Yeah.
So currently, right now, you have billions of neurons, and they transmit information. You have organs that function well as a whole.
Yeah.
Your DNA in every single one of your cells is 6 billion letters. And this is not just jargon. This is information that can be used to generate functionality and novelty.
Yeah.
So all of this, I'm sure you've looked into some of the things that I'm speaking about. There's loads of documentaries on this and people speaking about it. The genetic code and the power, the organizing principles that we have. All of this calls out for a designer, an organizer. What would you say to that?
I don't know. Are you looking at the fact that it's complex and pointing that to the fact that there must be a designer behind it?
I'm looking at two different things. I'm looking at complexity and the fact that it's done in a particular way.
Okay.
So for example, those leaves on the lawn there, they are in the park there, they are complex. However, if they write ROBIN, that's complex by specified information.
Sure. Yeah.
So that is not something we could say is an accident. If you were walking past and you saw, you'd say maybe someone knows me and they
It
did
doesn't
this.
only say ROBIN, it says ROBIN space IS space NICE space MAN.
He's a nice man. Exactly. And you know what's so interesting? Just down the road we have the British
That won't be
Library.
accident.
Right? We have the British Library. All the information in the British Library, which goes back to the ancient times, even till all the books which are being published today are being sent there, that is still a drop in the ocean compared to the information in your body. So from the perspective of just biology, because physics itself is an amazing miracle in terms of how far we are from the sun and the way that we're in this beautiful zone in which we survive and thrive. But all of this calls out to design.
Yeah. Well, so you said there's two things: complexity and order.
It being specified.
Specificity.
So can I tackle them individually? I guess. Complexity. I don't see the, again, like I said before, I guess I don't see the link between complexity and design. Like if I'm looking at something and working out whether it's design, I might not look at the complexity of it. I'll probably look at the fact that, I don't know, for example, but like I know that there's a designer in other ways. I've seen other objects that are the same, they look the same, and we know that people have designed them in factories and things like that, and people going up on stage and claiming they've made an iPhone and stuff like that. So we know other iPhones are designed and stuff like that. I think for me the way that I work out whether something's designed is by being able to look at the design.
Look at the designer.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And also to contrast it against things that I think aren't designed. You know?
You don't have to, so you don't have to know the designer to know something is designed, right?
I think that's one way of doing it, of working out if something is designed.
Because one of the arguments that we hear people saying, oh, because we don't know God, you can't say God is the designer because you don't know the designer. But you seem to be, operating, consistently here. That, this is what we would say as well. That if we were to look at the product itself, looking at it, we can differentiate between whether it has the hallmarks of design or not. The examples that, for example, you give is about some bricks and some arrangement. Do you want to just give the example to see how we can establish something is designed or not?
Yeah.
Again, from that hierarchy.
And it's also, it's good to have a definition, right? So let's sort of agree on a definition. If we don't agree, then we'll tease it out. I think a simple definition is complex parts working together for a specified goal. Okay? So
it's an
you have a very
outcome-oriented.
nice watch there. Be careful in London.
Battery,
Yeah? So in that watch, you will have various parts working together for a goal, and the goal in this particular context is to see the time.
Yeah.
Now, this, from the ancient times, this idea of teleology in nature, there is a purpose in nature, there is a goal in nature. The biologists today who are studying every aspect of human anatomy, or they're studying animals in Africa or whatever, they have to use teleological language. It's impossible.
Sorry, what is teleology again?
So teleology is goal-directed.
Goal-directedness.
You did say that, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So teleology is something we all notice, and it's something biology cannot live without. So sometimes when I give my view or he gives his view, you're Christian.
No.
It looks like we're just sharing our perspectives. But there's certain things which are very hard to escape. And what scientists find very hard to escape is the idea that there is goal-directedness in nature. It's actually very hard to walk away from that.
Yeah.
Would you agree, if there is complex parts working together for a specified goal, that's a hallmark of design? Would you agree with that?
Would I agree with that?
It's okay if you don't.
Maybe. I don't know. I need to think about it more.
Should I slow it down a bit to explain an example?
Yeah. I don't think. Because it's difficult, isn't it? Because there's obviously nature works in a particular way, and we can look at that and go, that's the obvious goal. But it's not like it's a predetermined goal, is it? It's just like that's where it's ended up. You know?
Okay, that's an important question you raised. I would say that the way that we answer that question doesn't change this particular inference.
Okay.
So for example, if there's determinism in the universe, or if the universe is indeterminate, it makes no difference to our design inference. Design inference is design. Now, say we've got a nice mobile here. You're sure this mobile was designed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure.
You seem to have said earlier that the reason why you recognize design is because you can go to the factory.
Well, it's not necessarily that I can go to the factory, it's that I feel as though I have really good reason to believe that factories exist, people work there, people claim that they've made iPhones, and I've got no real reason to think that they might be lying about it. Yeah, I think it would be very unreasonable to go, nah, everyone's lying about creating iPhones, So I think I've got good reasons. It's not necessarily that I could go to that, because I haven't been to that.
It's testimony.
It's
like
testimony.
Genghis Khan existing. We can see it throughout history.
It's just it feels like it's more reliable testimony than other testimony. Like it's not like testimony in a court case necessarily, is it?
No, I understand.
It is testimony. Yeah,
it's independent lines of evidence from the multiple people saying the same thing, independently of each other.
Yeah. But is it also testimony if I'm saying, like I can go on the Apple website and they're selling iPhones and stuff. I've got no reason to think that they're lying about what they're saying. Is that testimony as well, would you say? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a type of testimony. But here, if we dig up this part of Speaker's Corner and we find a piece of pottery with some markings on it, We have not seen the ancient civilization that may have been here.
Yeah.
But we can infer, because it's a complex object with a particular goal, in this particular case carrying wheat or whatever it is, we can say this is a hallmark of design.
Oh, because of the fact it's got a goal.
So when it comes down to the human body, when it comes down to the way that it works together as a whole system, our cells, they communicate with the outside world. There's a way that they take the environment and they change even their own DNA according to the way that the world is functioning. All of this calls out for intelligence, for design, for purpose, for agency. All of these things are signs of the divine.
Okay.
This is the thing. The contingency argument is a solid argument to show that there is a absolute being, necessary being, but the design argument shows you the power of that being. Because look, this design that we have today is far more complex than anything we've actually designed. So for example, when it comes to the A380 Airbus, right? When these massive mechanical vehicles are landing, there's particular features about their wing, because their wingspan's quite long. And when it comes to landing and taking off, things in nature have inspired biologists to come up with solutions. So for example, many years ago I was watching a documentary. There's a particular plane which had really long wings, and because of that there was extra turbulence when it was landing. So they were trying to discover if the length of the plane is a certain ratio to the wingspan, there's a lot more turbulence, so when it lands, you could have the plane crashing. They noticed that in the Eagle, the body length is much shorter than the wingspan, and it faces the same aerodynamic problem that the plane faces. And what they noticed is when the Eagle is landing, rather than landing straight, it flaps its wings to break the lift, okay? Or the something to do with Bernoulli steering, some complex aerodynamics, right? So they took that and they applied it to the plane. Likewise, the technology out there in the biosphere, it surpasses anything we've made. ChatGPT or quantum computing, all of this is still trivial, is child's play. So if the phone was designed, if the mic was designed, then God being a designer for the world makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that sounds again like it's. I feel like the goal thing is more compelling than that, because that to me again sounds like you're saying that it's the fact that it's so complex means it sounds like it's designed. That's what I'm not kind of getting to. The thing about the goal, things having an intended goal, that speaks a little bit more to me. But I'm still not.
Yeah. So what if we break it down to three possibilities, and you let me know if there's any more.
Okay.
What we see around us is the result of chance, necessity, or design. Okay? So chance is, it just happened. It just happens to be that we have 6 billion letters in our DNA. It just happens to be that we have this amazing creatures around us. I mean, recently I was studying bee behaviour. And the way that bees can use, they have an internal biological clock, and they have a map and compass system. They come back to the hive and they dance and they tell the other bees where to get the nectar. So all of this is either a result of chance, as it happened randomly, or it's just the way it was. That because of the initial conditions of the Big Bang, this is it. It just happens to be this way. Or there's a design. Is there any other possibilities beside these three?
Not that I can think of. I don't know.
Do you think it's due to chance?
That's it. See, I'm not trying to be difficult.
Sure, no, that's
I'm not going to make it
what we
difficult. I'm
do
just saying, I don't feel like I've got enough.
Sorry?
I don't feel like I've got enough maybe knowledge on that to actually say which one. I don't know. Do I think it's chance? It's more like, I mean, when it comes to the beginning of the universe, like where everything started, my stance is very much, I have no idea what's going on. I do not know what happened with the beginning of the universe. Does it make sense that it started with certain things in place and then it just kind of just happened to? It's not that it's chance. It's more that it's just like one thing followed on from another. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's an intention behind it. It's just I don't know. It's not something I really thought about. I don't really know what my
it's necessary to happen. I mean, like that. You're
guess-
saying
I
that
guess
everything
so, yes.
it is determined. It will follow. I mean, one after another.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Like it's like that. There is no design. So, what do you think that? Why a particular way of happening? Like that. You say that something follows from something, but why in a particular way that following should happen?
Why not? I just guess that all the factors that are involved just means that it has to go that way. I don't know.
But why it has to go that way? It could have been otherwise.
It could happen otherwise.
Yes.
Well, I don't think it could if all the factors in place are saying that it has to happen this way.
But why this condition exists? That
why does it
condition that these
I don't
particular
know why
conditions should exist for this to happen.
Okay,
I mean,
so
this
the
setting,
actual
the whole
conditions
setup.
at the beginning, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know
so,
why they would.
So you need, I mean, something existent as ingredient, like concepts. Like if you try to draw something in a canvas, then what do you need? You need ink, paper, and then some mechanical force to move around this this
Canvas
pen,
or paper,
canvas.
yeah.
Yes. So you need all of these existing ingredients. Now, suppose someone can unconsciously give a stroke on the canvas, a stroke of pen. It's unconscious accident.
Yeah.
But if you see that there's multiple strokes, you are not seeing the invisible hand. You are seeing only the pen, and these multiple strokes combining together, finally you get a meaningful outcome. Yeah. Then what do you infer from that?
What do I infer? Sorry, I'm so sorry.
He's referring to goals.
Yeah,
That, from my understanding, you're saying the same thing we were saying earlier. All these things are stacking up together for a particular end. So, for example, you right now, you can see, you have the ability of using your eyes to get around, to use your brain to make decisions. So, the universe and the initial conditions has led to a situation where we have beings who are sentient, who are using their cognitive abilities to reach ends and goals. And that is something fascinating. If you think about the size of the universe and where we are and the way that we're talking and communicating. So all of these things, and this is what I recommend you to do as well.
Your own self, within your own self, you can think, feel these feelings, these concepts. You know. Yeah.
I'll tell you something that came to mind when you were speaking earlier, just before we started recording. You said something about rationality, but also spirituality. Was it you or the person before?
Probably was the person. I don't think that makes sense. But anyway,
So, the point I did want to make is we can come to the belief in God other than reason as well, which helps, which is spirituality. So one of the things that we believe in is that you can pray to God and God will guide you. So you can reason with someone all day long, you can argue with them all day long, you can try and discover things, but ultimately, if you ask God, you said earlier you did have some belief in God when you were younger, right?
Yeah.
Even if today you have a 1% belief in God, ask that God for guidance. Because with some of these things, some of these arguments that we're having, complex arguments that we're having, to make a decision to believe in God, sometimes these arguments, they're just logical, but they don't convince you other than just to tell you this argument's valid. And it doesn't move you further.
I really think that it would though. If I heard, I completely get your point. Yeah, but I think if someone told me, gave me a logical argument, and I fully understood it, and I was like, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. I really think that would have a massive effect on me. And I struggle with the, ask God for guidance. Because I'm just like, I don't know how, I don't know what to do. Like you say, oh, it's like.
You pray in your heart.
Yeah. So do you acknowledge that possibility? That there is a possibility that God may exist. Do you acknowledge this possibility?
Absolutely, yeah. But
yeah. So then use this possibility.
But only in like a
logical possibility.
Yeah. Like I can't rule it out. I can't say
So what they're saying, if there's a logical possibility that God exists, even though we have given arguments to demonstrate that God does exist logically, but from your stance, then what our friend Subboor here is saying, that just reach out to God and say, whatever you are, God in reality, the originator of this reality, give me the clarity and understanding to know you.
But you understand, like from my point of view, I'd love to try that, honestly, but from my point of view, it'd be more like I'm just saying the words, because I can't actually think I'm talking to a God.
So you want to see to reason, logic. So, okay. So Brother Mansur has already given you the first argument, maybe you were discussing already. The first argument was that there should something exist, and always exist, for our existence to be here. Otherwise it would be magic. So where is the gap in this logic? Do you follow this logic?
That something has to exist.
Always exist.
Always exist.
Eternally.
Is there another possibility? Suppose I'm giving another possibility, that maybe there's some kind of new nothing from where something can come.
There's some kind of
new kind of nothing.
New meaning of nothing.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so you may say that, okay, maybe I do not know, maybe there's some kind of new nothing from where something can come.
No, I'm not saying that. It's
okay,
like the absence
so no
of
problem.
anything.
So then that nothing would be something other than our conceived nothing. So that is itself a thing. So in no way around you can get this removed from your reasoning chain. So you have to finally land there. Otherwise, you cannot evade it anyway.
Okay,
so
the problem
there is
You have a copy of the Quran by any chance?
I do actually. Yeah.
You do? Okay. 'Cause I was going to get you.
So stick to so think about this. This is the powerful argument that says that there should have always some existence. It has to be. Otherwise, we are not. Yeah. So you are feeling yourself awake and seeing the world around. That means that there was some existence. There is some existence, always existing. That means. Otherwise, it cannot have other meanings.
Yes.
Let's give me some points to understand what I mean by the qualities of that existence.
Yeah.
That existence always exists. Not only has the potential to exist, but is necessary to exist. Because if it wasn't necessary, then just a potential, then there would be maybe it would not even exist. The fact that it exists, you and I exist, it was necessary for it to exist. So the existence is necessary. You can't just say it could not exist, it has to exist. The fact that you and I exist, now it solidifies it. Okay? There has to be that existence, which is absolutely necessary. If something necessarily exists, they are not acquiring qualities of, like, say, power and will and ability or knowledge and things like this, because there was nothing else beyond. This is necessary existence. This is possessed inherently, intrinsically. So it comes with your necessary existence. Intrinsically, these qualities of what we are describing. Because if I say, okay, where did the will come from in that necessary existence? There was no one to give that will. But the will is necessary to explain our universe, our cosmos. So the will exists, so the existence must be necessary, not contingent to God. These are necessary qualities of these things.
Think about your own qualities, like your ability to intend, ability to be conscious about yourself and the all around, and your other capabilities like knowledge and this thing, information. So these abilities of yours should not be like that. They have popped up from nowhere. It cannot be like that. So all your abilities, all the colors, all the concept of this universe should have its grounding on that existence that has been always there. So
I guess my problem is when you're talking about the, and I'm sorry if you've explained this already. My problem is ruling out the fact that something can come from nothing because it doesn't make sense.
Rational sense.
And I think,
You cannot evade it in any other possible.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
given you another way, but that lands in.
and it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm with you.
Yes.
But it feels like the other possibility then is that there's something there. There's always a
It's a logical necessity.
and I think you've got a problem there of something being eternal. And to me, that doesn't make any logical sense. I don't understand how that can work. In the same way as I don't understand.
What you're saying is you're struggling to say, how can something exist always? Yeah. That's your struggle to understand this.
Okay,
but it's not your logical reasoning here at all. It's how to accept the consequences of that thing that exists always. Yeah, they're struggling to.
It's more that
Imagine now, once I accept that you are, say, the prince of this country, right? Really, the monarch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can just keep on saying, but how can you be? I mean, but you Robin. But the reality is you are. So
No, that's not-
So
I
the
get
reality
you.
is something logically has to exist always.
No, I get what you mean. But
How
what I meant.
can it be eternal? You are saying that beyond time. Is it
I'm
your
saying that the same reasons that I would rule out that something can come from nothing.
yes? That there is
logically
always something.
inconsistent would be the same reasons as that I would probably rule out the fact that something
How?
can be
What's the
eternal.
logic there? What's the logic that something
So
can
think
exist
of
always?
this like you have different system in this world, even in the contingent world. Things we can see, objects, and those are bound by laws, natural laws, the sun, moon, and the ground, everything. But these systems have their own timeline, lifetime, and you can see the variation of lifetime. You can conceive this, that it is not necessary that something always had to be of short life or within a certain specific lifetime or within time bound. It is not the case. So there is nothing to prevent something from being above time. When you say the above time,
So when you say
it's above time.
above time.
Let's break it down simple.
Yeah.
This is an umbrella. When it's raining, I want to give it to my brother Subboor here. I want to just give it to him, right? Use it, right? Oh, but before that, what if there were infinite number of people in front of me? Can I give this umbrella by passing an infinite number of people and then he has it?
I would say no. You can't give it to me.
You can't.
Yes.
Okay. So the action of the umbrella reaching to your hand, if that happened, would that demonstrate that there was infinite number of people or there was a finite number?
That would demonstrate as a finite.
Finite.
Yeah.
You and I now exist.
That makes sense to me.
You and I exist.
Yeah.
If we had infinite number of causes just going by without an end,
Yeah.
you and I would not exist. This action would not exist. The causes eventually has to end somewhere. That end of that something is called the first cause.
But doesn't the first cause that's eternal have the same problems of
What's the problem?
Infinite
No, what's the first problem? The first cause is something that is necessary. It's based on the principle of sufficient reason, PSR. Because so this first cause doesn't need externally because it by itself is not composed of anything. It's not a complexity in the sense that it's a composition. This is the ultimate explanation. When you have an explanation, you don't need an explanation for that explanation. We go by in science by finding out what's the reason and look for an explanation. Forensic science, normal biological science, physical science, explanation. Once we know the explanation, we don't need to look for an explanation for that explanation. That's why we stop at the sufficient explanation, principle of sufficient reason. Once we arrive at the first cause, that first cause, what we say by necessity, has to have all of these qualities. So it will not have any deficiencies of, oh, it needs to have this, otherwise it will be limited and dependent and finite and all the deficiencies. We're saying this will be an absolute thing. Everything else is finite, yeah, dependent. But that first cause will be absolute. Absolute meaning no deficiencies, nothing at all. So all of the qualities of perfection would has to be linked by necessity. That's the only conceivable, reasonable option that logic can bring, can accept. Because if you say, oh, that thing lacks something like, for example, power, then it's not an absolute thing. I mean, if it has a lack of power, what lacks it? What controls it? What reduces it? What restricts it? Something other than itself. So we now go beyond that thing, the first cause, which is now deficient, and go something else which is greater than that. You can go back greater, eventually find the greatest. Beyond that, there will be nothing greater than that. And that's why in Islam, one thing will be surprisingly you hear this phrase called Allahu Akbar. Have you heard of it? Allahu Akbar.
God is great.
God is greater. Right. So how this is phrased, rather than God is greatest, is the fact that whatever you imagine, God is greater than that. Whatever being that you can conceive, more greater, God is greater than that. This is to illustrate the point that originator of this universe is greater than you can ever imagine in any way, shape or form. In perfection, in absoluteness, greater than anything. So that is what we're talking about, is the first cause, which has to be necessarily that first cause with that attributes and qualities. It's a logical necessity. Anything else, anywhere else, you bring deficiencies, you cannot explain us in this reality. We will have what called insufficient explanation of our existence.
If it was within the time, then the question would be, what puts it within time? Time itself follows some rules, regulations. Time is not absolute. So then you have again the problem. What grounds time? So the same existence, which should be the controller of time. So it's beyond time.
We were just saying we have to go and pray.
Yeah,
As we are taking time, there are certain times we have to pray.
Yeah, sure.
So before sunset, there's another prayer called Asr we have to pray now. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, Robin. If you come again, we can continue the discussion. Think about what you just said. I mean, these are the things, some points we've given you for you to reflect. We're not asking you to straight away just take and accept them as they are. You know, reflect and see whether it makes sense or not. If it's sensible, then you can say, okay, fine, why am I not adopting that worldview then, and ask further questions. And eventually, you'll come to a point where you will be able to make up your own decision saying, as regards to the originator of the universe, whether that originator exists or not, and indeed how convinced you are.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's been really nice to chat to you. Yeah,
Okay.
nice to
Take it. All the best. Subboor, we're going to just go and pray Asr.
Yeah, nice to meet you. How often are you here then?
Most Sundays.
Most Sundays.
Most Sundays. We come here from what we call like after lunchtime, which is like 2-3ish around that time, and when it's darker. So most Sundays we're here. I mean, there's quite a few of us you will see, and you can speak to any one of those speakers, Muslim speakers, and you can continue the discussion. Some of them are more grounded in physics, astrophysics, or philosophy of science, for example, than others. But you know when you're speaking to someone what particular area of interest they are, and they can help you to understand some aspects of things here. Ultimately, we want the better of everyone eventually, because we believe as Muslims we have to worship, meaning be grateful to our Creator, because in that lies the success in the hereafter. We are here for a reason, limited span of time as a test and see who is actually best in conduct. That includes belief in conduct. And if we were to fulfill our obligation here by worshipping our Creator, being thankful and grateful, then in the next life, the only other life, in which we will be there forever in a place of happiness or paradise, Jannah, or in a place of hellfire, which sounds really bad. We can avoid that by actually doing the good works of the heart and the intellect to our conclusion. And we want all of us to be in that state, good here and good in the afterlife. We don't want anyone to be really suffering because of the abuse or neglect of the intellect.
Absolutely. I agree with what you're doing. Like, if you think people are going to benefit and go to heaven by what you say, or go to hell if you don't talk. Yeah, I think absolutely you should just try and get your message out to as many people as you can.
Just sharing the message. People make their own choices.
As Muslims, we believe that, as a human, you can excel once you connect to your God, your Lord, your Creator, because He has given you all the qualities which we consider best or good qualities. So if you follow out of your gratitude being appreciative and grateful is itself a good quality.
Yeah.
So then, if you connect to your God, your Creator, through this quality, then your other excellent qualities will flourish, and then you will excel and land up in the place you are meant to be, the heaven, not the hell.
Nice.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, very nice.
Robin.
to meet you. And, hopefully I'll see you again.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah.